All right, howdy folks, welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. Last week I shared the first of the CGC so-called banana books that I'd received, which was this copy of The Amazing Spider-Man number 252 in 9.4 grade. You could clearly see by looking at the side of this book that right here, the comic is kind of pressed against the front of the slab, and as you go to here kind of in the center, you can see all the way through the outer slab, and that the comic book is very clearly pushed against the back of the slab. And then as you go to this side, you could very clearly see that the comic again now is pushed against the front of the slab, and you can kind of very clearly see down the channel there of the outer well. And so this book has a very clear curvature to it as you go from the bottom to the middle up to the top. And that's what I think people were complaining about with the banana books, and it was doing it across the bottom as well. So right there, you know, all the way to kind of a peak curve, and then back to the front of the slab right there. In addition to that, these feel like oddly distended as you slide your hand across the front, and they don't have anywhere near kind of the normal squeezy give that the CGC slabs kind of typically do. And part of me wonders if they were trying to do something clever to prevent Newton rings by kind of distorting the slab, and instead of distorting the slab, they ended up distorting the inner comic book wells, which would be very sad. But of course, Newton rings have kind of long since plagued CGC, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were trying to do something clever to prevent Newton rings and instead ended up warping people's books. All right, so fast forward to this week. I had a 9/8 comic book pre-screen that was submitted in in early August, and it had gone all the way to quality control, and then I watched it revert back to grading encapsulating imaging, and I called and complained about it, and they said, whatever, there's something holding up your order. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And then I watched it sit in grading encapsulating imaging for about a week, and then it went to quality control and eventually shipped. Those books arrived today, and so these are these books. I'm not going to do an unboxing because there's a little bit more of a story to these books that I'm going to leave to that unboxing. But what I do want to share with you is I do think CGC has fixed their banana gate problem. So right here, if we look at the side of that, you can kind of see that the comic book is pushed against the front of this slab, but it stays against the front, and it is very smooth all the way across, and it does not kind of push against the back at any given time. Additionally, these feel like there might be a little bit more curvature across the front than there typically has been in the past, but it's nowhere near as distended or goofy feeling as this one. And I know a lot of people were wondering if CGC was going to put these little plastic holders that they have in here to help support the spines, as you can see across here. That's not always done, and it's kind of atypical for them to do that, particularly with moderns, because the slabs generally fit better. But in this particular case, there was exactly one book that had that in it, and it's the Silver Surfer #1. And I think part of the reason for that is it does appear like it's just sitting slightly crooked in that inner well. You know, it looks kind of okay over there, but again, if this corner's kind of touching down there, and it's kind of sitting up over here, and so there does appear to be a little bit of a slant to it somewhere. But those books might just be because they have notorious miswraps and a little bit of overhang. The rest of these here, if we flip them on their sides, again, you can see both of them right there. You know, the one closest to my thumb right here is actually sitting kind of far back in the slab relative to the others. But if I go down this, we're not seeing that same curvature. This is a very straight spine, and these books are sitting very straight in those slabs. So the inner wells do not look bent. They do not look distorted. They look very straight. So whatever the problem with the banana books was, it does appear, at least based on this order, that CGC has fixed it in relatively good time, presumably based on a lot of backlash and outcry from the community. I still think it's a little bit of a tragedy. Oh, I'll fill you in. So I did call CGC on this one. They said it is past the time where they would accept a reholder, and they weren't accepting mechanical errors, and they weren't accepting mechanical errors for this. They told me they did extensive research, and this doesn't hurt your book, even though I think it pretty clearly does. And they said said if I wanted it fixed, I would have to pay them to do a reholder. It was not going to be accepted as a mechanical error. So that was their stated policy, which I do think was unfortunate given that, you know, if you compare it to both the old books I had featured as well as the 4 new books that are hanging out right here and compare those spines, you very clearly can see that something is off with these banana books in comparison to those. But nevertheless, that is their corporate policy and their statement on it. I just think that that's unfortunate in my opinion, but that's how it goes. So anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed watching the comparison and a little bit of reassurance that the banana gate here is at least apparently resolved based on this box of comic books, and hopefully based on the holdup that it had going from quality control back to grading, encapsulating, imaging, and then ultimately shipping out about a week to 10 calendar days later. That CGC did recognize whatever the problem was with these and has fixed it on the most recent books which I've received back from them. So thank you for watching. Please go ahead and drop a thumbs up on the video, post a comment down below, share, like, follow, subscribe, reach out on Facebook or Instagram, you know, and I appreciate you paying attention to the current situation here with the banana books.